I know. I got to slam it down like Brandon does.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not an official meeting unless we.
That's right. Ready? Yeah. I'd like to I'd like to call to order the June Ways and Means Committee meeting. Kelly, could you call the roll?
Alderwoman Sims, absent. Alderman Gould. Here. Alderwoman Tice.
Here.
Alderman Erger.
Here.
3 of 4 members are present and represent a quorum.
Are there any changes or amendments to the agenda? None. It will be approved by acclamation. Report of committee chair and alderman. Alderwoman Sims is not here. Alderman Gould?
No report.
And I have no report. Alderman Erger?
No report.
Doesn't look like we have a city administrator report today. So we'll move on to department reports. A is financial statements. Is that Michelle?
Packets, you'll see the April financial statements. 4 months into the year, trending well. A few of the highlights are sales tax is slightly up. Use tax is following the same trend. Occupational licenses and liquor license, occupational business license and those things, that season, I believe, ended in March. And now we're just following up with those who are either delinquent and those types of items. But it was a pretty successful season. Liquor license we'll start bringing to Ways and Means starting next month. So we're preparing that at the moment. Ambulance fees took a jump and the GEMT deposit was made. So that sort of made that a little more significant. There's no real highs or lows come April at the moment, even in expenditures. Are there any immediate questions as you sort of go through the document?
I just had one question, and you sort of explained it in your supporting documents, but if you could like break this down for me. The financial institution tax, why are we receiving so much more than?
I don't know why we're receiving so much more. That is one that comes from the county with zero support, and it seems to have fluctuated over the last 3 to 5 years from $35,000 to now currently around 108, even once we've finished with the audit process and the accrual process. So I'm not sure what's come and gone within the industry or within the area where county gives us the difference. But I can ask them. Yeah, I can absolutely ask them.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's not another one of those situations where we're getting more than we should be, and
Actually, I think you all asked this question last year, year before, maybe year before, and we researched it and gave a response, and I don't remember what it is
Yeah, I
now,
can't
but
recall.
we can look it up.
I'm sure we did, because it's one of those weird ones, but, okay, thank you.
Nope, I'll do some research and get back to you.
Okay.
Perfect. Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Great. Moving on to the investment report. Brad, can you hear us?
I can.
And we can hear you. This is great. Yay.
All right. It's all about technology.
Yay.
Happy Thursday evening, everybody. And happy summer. The heat is upon us. I started to reflect on each of the other little market updates that I've been giving you guys, and it's almost the same. This month is kind of similar to last month, but we're anticipating interest rates to stay relatively flat, and a lot of that has to do with the Fed keeping the Fed funds rate where it is. Also, there's that whole we're in election year kind of thing going on, so that plays a role in all of this. I say that to say that interest rates are still the highest that they've been since 2007. They have come down a little bit, but they're still fantastic. And you all have capitalized on that the whole way. You should have a 2-page document that you've seen before each month. And this is just a running record of how much you have made. You see the holdings, the existing accounts that we manage under current holdings there at the top little spreadsheet, the 2014, 17, 18, and 19 bond debt service reserve fund accounts.
That's great. We always like getting your reports, every Ways and Means meeting, so do.
I will tell you, I might have mentioned this before. Not too long ago, interest rates, the way that they were, weren't real exciting. You know, you're talking about a new computer or this or that, or, you know, something kind of small. Now we're talking about vehicles and salaries and stuff like that. So it's a lot more exciting for everybody across the board. That page 2 there with the little blue bar graphs just kind of gives you an idea of um, how much each of these accounts have earned over each month by month basis. And every month I just add another column to it. So you see there $303,000 this year, and that averages out to about $61,000. This month, month of May, was $62,673. We have a security in the general fund account that matures in about a week, and Bola and Michelle and I will get together and select an appropriate security to continue with the strategy that we've already implemented for you guys.
Great. Questions from anyone?
Quick one. Hey, Brad, Alderman Erger here. As interest rates hopefully come down later this year or early 2025, what kind of impact, if any, do you expect to have on these funds?
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. The Federal Reserve will eventually lower interest rates. That is by lowering the federal funds rate. That will push the money market rates down, and short-term interest rates that have to compete with cash or, maybe a year or less or 6 months or less. Those investments or those yields will drop because they don't have to compete up here anymore when money market is down here. So those will naturally come down. It's just the way that the market will work. Longer than that, I don't know. If they lower interest rates, that means there's more confidence in the market, that we have conquered inflation, and we've brought it down to that 2% threshold that they're looking for. And that probably would give renewed, not that the market really seems to need it because, stock market is touching 40,000 every couple of days, which is an all-time high. But it would give renewed, probably vigor and strength and folks feeling more bullish in the stock market. And that could drive longer-term rates up. And so the way that works is if money leaves the bond market and goes to, say, stocks or something else, bonds, their yields rise to try to become more attractive to get that money back. So there are a couple of moving parts with that question that you asked, which is a lot market-driven, which would be crystal ball-driven. But that's probably my best answer for you.
Any other questions? Brad, thank you, as usual, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks. Oh, you too. Next, we'll move on to item 5C, health, dental, and vision insurance premiums. I guess that's Tangela. Okay.
Good afternoon, Tangela. So overall, we're only seeing an increase in our medical for the 24-25 plan year. Vision will remain the same through 2025. It goes out for renewal again in 2025, as well as Lincoln Financial. Can you hear me? Okay. Dental will go out for renewal in 2026. Thank you. I couldn't hear myself. I think that's better. So yeah, so dental will go out for renewal in 2026. So right now we're looking at a 7.5% increase in medical. That is a little higher than what we saw last year. However, in the 2024 labor model, that increase was expected and accounted for within the budget. Been looking at the documents that we attached and presented for you. We do see that we consistently receive a surplus back from state for those premiums. And we also have one that's expected for 2024 as well. That's attached for you to see that amount. For the increase, the rates on there are showing what the city pays and what the employee pays for that. Historically, the city pays 100% of the premium for family, 50% for, 100% for employee, 50% for family, and we're hoping to continue that moving for the 2024-2025 plan year. Any questions regarding the rates, the increase?
I have one question.
Yes.
So I noticed that different cities within Slate have different percentage increases. Are we typically at this 95th percent loss ratio? Is that typical for Brentwood? Have we gone up recently, or is that just, it varies year to year based upon the usage by our employees?
It does vary, and then it's also based on the amount of employees that are covered in that time frame. And so for us, we're typically within that range.
Other questions? Okay, so are you looking for a
Motion to approve.
motion to approve the health, dental, and vision insurance premiums and forwarding it on to the Board of Aldermen?
So moved.
And a second? We need to vote individually, or is this? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, that passes. Let's move on to cyber insurance renewal.
Time for insurance renewal.
Yes.
And so we are providing a total of 3 to you this evening. We will be bringing more at the next meeting. So next is, I believe, cyber insurance. And late this afternoon, I included the Charlesworth Consulting Report. If you remember, they came several years ago, reviewed at your request all our insurance coverage, and made recommendations on what we could do to improve it. So cyber was one that they encouraged us to increase it, and then also there were specific things that they wanted us to talk to our IT director about, Larry Covey, and so namely have him review the policy and incorporate into it the cyber incident response plan, which the carrier requires us to do. Remember to call in the event of a cyber incident, and part of the insurance coverage required that he and his staff download an app and have it on their phone so that they would be available to respond at all hours of the day if something were to happen, and then watch for warranty statements on renewal application. We were able to check in with some of our neighboring municipalities, specifically those that are on the intergovernmental partnership on IT, and we seem to have the highest coverage. The others have 2 million, but their deductions are significantly less than ours, higher than ours actually. They're 10,000 and ours is 5,000. Notwithstanding, we recommend that we renew at this current level, 4 million, with a retention of 5,000. And so the cost from the current year is $1,150, and this would become effective July 1 of this year. I put 2023, but it's July 1 of this year.
So I have a question on this. The difference between the expiring one and the one that you're recommending for renewal has a much lower coverage amount for something called bricking coverage. Can you explain what that is and why?
Breaking coverage.
It's the last blue slated, or the last blue shaded color. It was $4 million worth of coverage in the expiring plan, and it's only $1 million in the renewal plan. And can you tell
So
us
what we are recommending is still 4 million.
Well, in the chart, it's 4 million policy aggregate.
Yes.
But if you pull up the chart that's attached in the supplemental documents, the risk strategies put together.
It's in the first party coverage table, all the way at the very bottom.
All the way at the very bottom, the last blue shaded.
It does seem odd that it goes, everything else seems
Everything else seems
consistent,
to-
and then it goes from 4 million down to 1 million.
Let me check with them. That might be a typo, but
Yeah.
I'm not certain. So
Okay.
let me check and I will send you all an email.
Okay, great. So does this need to go to were you planning to send this to the board
No,
tonight?
it would just be incorporated into the budget.
Okay, so does this need to go to, is this one going to the full board?
not
at the
tonight.
Next, not tonight, okay. Great, so then we will look for either an email response on that or a follow-up at the next meeting. Okay. So then we'll move on to employment practices liability renewal.
So, same on that, the coverage there, right now, we are at, current coverage, we're at 3 million. And given the city's more recent claims history, we are recommending that we increase that to 4 million. And there is somewhat significant cost increase with that. 9,318 would be the increase. I hope that you all would concur that, given some of the claims history that we've brought to you all in closed session, this might be warranted. Once again, we are following the recommendations that were made by Charlesworth to look to increase our limits, and we have increased the limits. So we're not recommending we do more than where we are right now. Turn in any claims that could be potentially covered by both policies to both Slate and XL, Caitlin, which we do. So the city attorney is aware when these claims come in. So there are multiple individuals in the city that are submitting these claims incidents to the insurance carriers. So recommendation would be at the current limit.
Great. Any questions from any of the Ways and Means Committee?
Recommendation is to stay at the current level or to go to the increased limit?
So we are at, to go to the increased limit, 4 million,
So
which
the
would be option 2.
renewal quote option number 2,
Right.
which was almost $10,000 increase of premium.
9318.
Am I correct that this is insurance that at one point we talked about trying to get additional coverage for and couldn't, and then
Well, we
Are we-
wanted excess.
excess?
And so this is.
But it didn't go over 3 million, and so now it does,
It
it
does.
does go to 4 million. So we have two Board of Aldermen members who aren't on the Ways and Means Committee. Would either of you like to ask a question?
I'm looking at the,
Here,
I'm sorry.
hate to
Dave-
scold you.
Dave Plufka, Alderman, Ward 1. Missouri Department of Insurance says that for all claims arising out of a single accident or occurrence in 2024, the limit of liability is 3.3 million. Why would we go to $4 million in coverage?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, I'm just looking at the website.
Oh.
If our sovereign immunity limit is 3.3 million, I don't understand why we're paying a premium on coverage beyond that point.
But is that an accident
Well, this is
policy
this is for liability, I thought.
or
This is
This-
public officials, employment liability renewal.
employment
Yeah, it's for
practice
single
liability?
occurrence, it's
Okay.
for, right.
So those, I mean, again, those are, you know this
I don't know it.
topic way more than I do.
I just
so-
know that, I didn't think that the sovereign immunity limit had been raised that much. I know it raises up every year, and if you look at it, it has gone from about 3 million in 2020 to about 3.3 million now in 2024. It's based on some formula. I don't know what that formula is, but it is based on a formula. I just don't, and maybe there's an easy explanation for why they want the coverage, or they're thinking we should get
I
coverage
mean, they're
in
not
excess.
recommending it, we are.
Okay.
So we don't have to do it.
I don't, I'm just
So-
raising the question.
I have to admit, I did not reread the Charlesworth thing today. But I seem to remember that we really wanted to increase our liability coverage a number of years ago, and we didn't. And then the next year, we wanted to increase, and we couldn't. So I guess,
But they went out and were able to get quotes
Quotes
to allow us to do it. But if if the state now says the maximum is 3 million, I
Or
could
3.3.
ask the question, we can defer action tonight.
yeah, so let's defer, so if we could defer action on this, and if you could confirm Alderman Plufka's, the 3.3 that he saw on the state website, that, or where were you that you saw this?
It's the Missouri Department of Insurance.
On the Missouri Department of Insurance Sovereign Immunity Limit website, or Department of Insurance website. So,
I mean, I would guess that maybe if it's 3.3, I'm sure this policy isn't up to 4 million, so then it would be covered so that you wouldn't, if you only had 3 and you had a claim 3.3, then you had to cover the rest. But, yeah, I think we should get verification before we decide to increase.
Okay, so we will look forward to talking about this next month, I guess. Or via email. Or does this need, it needs to go by July 1st. So we look forward to seeing something via email so that we can have this on the mid-June Board of Aldermen meeting. Okay, great. Then now we have we're moving on from insurance to the police department replacement vehicle. Who's managing? Is this Michelle? Is this Chief Spees? Is this?
At the April meeting, you guys had some discussion regarding the replacement vehicle. We didn't have the cost, there was timing issues. This sort of outlines the insurance settlement check as well as the upfitting cost, and the remaining capital funds once all of the funds are reconciled. Any immediate questions or concerns?
Need a motion on this, or is this a small enough amount that unless we have concerns, you can just spend?
I believe you guys wanted it to come back to you guys for approval.
Then could I have a motion for approving the remaining costs for upfitting the police vehicle that was wrecked?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move forward with the upfitting of the vehicle for service.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Stands approved.
Great, thank you.
Next, we have the consent agenda. First item is the minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes? Anyone have-
Motion to approve the consent agenda on whole?
The whole consent agenda, are there any questions on the destruction of documents? Do we want to do both? We can do both.
No, Chris is here, and she would like to speak to you.
Okay,
on
well,
this.
let's do them one at a time. So let's do the minutes first. Will you just do minutes?
Second on that.
Okay.
Or motion to
And then you'll
approve minutes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we'll move. Okay, Chris is here, so let's hear about the documents.
This is your time. Time to shine.
Well, I will say that every year that this comes to us, I'm always amazed at the documents that are in existence and that then we, have to go through and properly destroy. So I will say, I imagine a lot of work goes into doing this. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for doing that. Are there any questions about the document destruction?
Motion to approve request for destruction of records.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stands approved. So we have no old business, and we will move on to new business, which is mill and overlay of part of Joseph Avenue.
I think most of you are aware that Missouri American replaced the water main on Joseph as well as Salem. They contacted us maybe about a week or so ago, so they'd be paving around the middle of June, so probably like the second or third week. This is Excel utility contractor, so they're the contractor that Missouri American hired to put in the main as well as do restoration. So where they're planning on doing restorations, basically from the center line going north, it's that northern half of the road, roughly over a 770-foot length. The road's only about 800 feet in length anyways. But I had asked them just for a price as a holder, if we were to pave the other half, because the original paving was done in 2017. So the street's about 7 years old. NB West did it, and I listed the price in here, what they did it for. These folks at Excel gave a quote, and it was just under $30,000, so it's $29,548. The only reason why I asked was because it's like you're going to have half a street that's aging differently. So it's like you've got one half that's 7 years old, another half that's going to be 2024. So then we'll always have these seams to constantly caulk, which is fine, we can do that, but then eventually that southern half is going to be 15, 16 years old and require mill and overlay, then the other side is now 7 or 8 years old. So I guess the question becomes, when do you want to do this to try to play catch up? I did look, and way back in 2017, we did 25 streets, and that was over $600,000. So there is gonna be a year where you're gonna have a lot of streets to start doing it. I didn't know if we wanted to start with something simple like this, and then that way Joseph's done. Because if you recall, a few years ago, MSD put in new sewer on the southern half. That's why you see the seam and the manhole and things like that. So the chances of another utility coming in here, I think, slim to none. So you got water and sewer already done. You know, unless Spire put a new gas line in there, which I don't know that they will, you could at least have a street paved both sides in 2024. So if we wanted to do it, we could do it now, or we could do nothing and just keep, you know, patching it and caulking the seams.
Comments from, or thoughts?
Well, I mean, you answered my question, as I think even in 2017, when we did all these streets, almost a week later, we had utilities coming in and cutting things up. So we have cut up streets everywhere. I don't think we're going to ever have a pristine stretch of a street that stays that way for, 15 years. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of saying, hey, what if we spend the extra money and just mill and overlay the whole thing and get it all clean? I wonder if we can't do that to every street that has had utility work done. So then we are, we're doing it on one little street, but then all the rest of the neighborhoods are going to have patchwork. And we have, like you said, we've been deferring a lot of street projects. There will come a time when we need to do pretty significant, budgeting for that. Is there any possibility of having them just do the north side and then doing a sealant over everything?
We could try that with Donaldson. We could budget that in future years to try to seal from curb to curb. That way it looks more consistent. That's kind of why I thought mill and overlay, because it's more durable, but I mean, the sealant we could definitely look at. The other option I thought was
It wouldn't be 30 grand to do.
No, it would be less. It'd be probably somewhere in the 20s, we were estimating, probably low 20s. The other thing was, we still have Gershenson for McKnight. If you changed your mind and reverse course, you could ask them, do a change order and see, we know what their cost is. That was in their bid. Could they do it and charge us to do that second half? I'm sure they could.
Again, you'd want to have it done at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's.
But the sealants is something we kind of thought about. I mean, we do sealants or try to do sealants every year that we can. This is still enough of a candidate. The one half is 7 years old. We could wait maybe next year and budget to do the new stuff that was just done, as well as the other half that's 7 years old, and try to get it consistent. Because there is another product we've used just once, was Nova Chip, and that was on Pine between St. Clair and High School. Those were concrete slabs, and it's about a 3/8 of an inch veneer that you could put over that, and it would look consistently black and cover up a lot of the scars that have been through the utility process.
I'm deferring to you guys on this one.
So I noticed the chair of our Public Works Committee. Do you have would you like to speak? Okay. Didn't know if you had a Public Works angle as opposed to just a money angle. So I guess my question is, do we have streets in worse shape than this half of Joseph that would make more sense if we were gonna scrap together $30,000, that it would be better to spend it?
Yeah, I thought, well, if we don't do it now, we would just take whatever savings we see later in the year and use it for Hanley Industrial. So what we've been doing is, if it's simple slabs that we can do with our own labor, we just do those. So it's like whatever savings you have, you would just use for the material costs under 65-35 for streets and sidewalks, and just use it for anything we do down there. I mean, there's several along the dog park area of Hanley Park. There's several that are closer to the intersection of Strassner and Hanley Industrial. So it's not like we would not do anything. But this was the one opportunity I thought, well, to not disrupt the neighbors, in future years, what if we were to do it, because they've already seen the street torn up for the better part of a year. But Salem was one I didn't want to do, only because all those side streets that radiate from it, those were all done in 2017. So Barnstable, Bedford, Marblehead, as well as Salem. And it works best if you do all of them at the same time and start at the north and work your way south. But I know that'll be expensive, whether it's 7 years from now, 10 years from now. But we've been keeping up with patching it, so.
And the current south side of the street is in good condition otherwise?
I think
mean,
it's good enough, you know, that it doesn't have a lot of alligator cracking
Right.
or waves or anything to it. I mean, walking it, I thought it looked okay. It was just, hey, since we're already here, do you want us to do that? Under contract, they're only obligated to do from the center line north.
It's hard, we're right at 7 years, because it's either we
Yeah, we're right
suck it up
in
now, or
between.
we're gonna suck it up in another 7 or 8 years, because
Right.
it's gonna be off. Nice if it was 10 or something, it'd be an easier.
If we're a lot older, then I think the recommendation would be a lot stronger. Like if we're a 15-year-old street, it's like, hey, it's gonna have to be done really soon, so why not do it? Here, you're stuck right in about the middle of the useful life. But the sealants, we can certainly, when Donaldson's in town, get a new quote from them to do whatever streets we want and see about this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined, I kind of get, again, I get why you would maybe want to consider this. It's just, it seems like a lot of money for a street that's, half a street that's actually in, you know, fairly good, useful condition. And that if we could apply a sealant that might actually, you know, unify the whole thing and, you know, maybe work it in with some other projects, then that wouldn't be as disruptive to the residents along there anyway, if we were to come in and do it, so.
Yeah, and we can check with Spire, because that's the last utility I thought that has not replaced everything in that block. And if they're fine with it, then I guess we would just do the sealant and hope that, you know, the only other thing I thought was if you had like an infill house, it's like they would tear down and do new utilities, they would probably tear into the street, so.
We've found out recently several times that we don't know when the utilities come through.
Sure.
No, it sounds like we should stick to just the one half for now, right?
Movement for a motion, now I could kind of get it, I can kind of go either way, and it's a, well.
Not really, because it's not a dead-end street, so you can come out either, Dorothy or Helen. So when they do it, I thought, well, it'll be roughly a half, you know, if it's in poor shape.
Okay.
All I needed.
Okay, got an answer?
Yep, thanks.
Okay, let's move on to the, an ordinance amending Chapter 115 of the Brentwood City Code relating to purchasing. Eric gets all the fun stuff, except when it's not parks.
Yes, this is riveting stuff. So we're looking to revise Chapter 135 of the municipal code. The impetus of this is really due to the FEMA recommendation for the alternate purchases. We wanted to, when we talked to FEMA said, you know, hey, understand since this is over $1 million, you're going to be audited. We're going to take a look, make sure you're following your city's practices and code and things like that for purchases. And so looking at it, we reviewed the code to make sure that we were following everything, and we are obviously, but we wanted to, in looking at it and talking to the city attorney, he thought it would behoove the city to really update section 135170 to clarify the city's use of the Missouri State contract, which we use for our vehicle purchases, and then purchasing cooperatives, which we use for some type of equipment. So like the street sweeper is actually on a purchasing cooperative, so that is something that we could then utilize and make sure we get it. Now, the city attorney felt we were covered by section 135.170, but again, he thought to clarify it and strengthen it would make it better. So that's what we'd like to do. And then the first section is just housekeeping error from the last time we updated the code.
Questions for Eric?
I guess motion to approve the amendments to Chapter 135 of the Brentwood Municipal Code and forwarding on to the Board of Aldermen.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sounds like it passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. So now we'll move on to citizen comments. I don't see any non-elected people in the audience, or is there anyone online?
There's no one online.
Seeing no further business, this